So our first book that we're going to start with is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I read this last year for school and I'm reading it again, except this time I'm annotating it. So I do show some of my annotations, which you'll see. I separate it by chapters usually, which you'll see with the things they carried, but this one goes by parts, so I have part 1, 2, and 3. And then in the back of the copy that I have, it has extra history content, things like that for the book. To start off, just a quick summary of Fahrenheit, or the first 20 pages. It's based in a dystopian society, a society that was meant to be a great working society, and kind of as you start reading, you see that it is not really working out, and that it's kind of it's very much dystopian. Bradbury wrote this in 1953, and it was meant to be kind of a prediction of the future and civilization now, and personally I think it is pretty accurate. The story follows protagonist Guy Montag through his life as a fireman in this dystopian society. So although Montag is a fireman, he actually starts the fires, he doesn't put them out. So he burns books. This society is meant to be that everyone's equal. Nobody has any higher knowledge than anyone else, and they don't want anyone to be offended, which are all things that books bring. They're controversial. Lots of times people learn from them, meaning that they have more knowledge, and therefore they are used for power, and that's why in this society they're meant to be destroyed. Early on, we meet a static character named Clarice McClellan, and she kind of changes Montag's views on the world by showing him a little piece of her own inner feelings. She obviously is noticeably different. Just the way that the Bradbury describes her is so pure and very not in the world. She takes life slower than everyone else, and later, a little bit into the book, we see that her and her family form relationships with one another, which is something that in this society doesn't happen, and we see with Montag and his wife. Also, she questions things around her, and people don't usually do that. She notices things like how the rain tastes and the color of the grass, and Guy Montag, she notices his mannerisms and notices that they're different. Clarice opens Montag's eyes to how ruined their society really is, and after meeting her, you notice Montag's mood shift from prideful fireman, so part of this world, to kind of questioning the world just as she is. So after meeting Clarice, Montag goes home to a not so welcoming bedroom where his wife is laying overdosed on sleeping pills, which we will get back to. Mildred's role in the book really is to represent society. Some things to know right off the bat about that technology: those seashells in her ears are headphones, which it's kind of coincidental because we wear headphones in our ears that kind of look like seashells. So let's move on to symbols, since we've talked about the main 3 characters thus far in the book. First one is the salamander. Part 1 of the book is The Hearth and the Salamander. Why do you think Bradbury chose a salamander for a fireman? That always struck me as so odd until you kind of realize that it makes sense. When you think of a salamander, at least when I do, I think of something like slimy and sneaky and just creepy, gross creature, which is really what these firemen are. They're doing something that's really not right and kind of just slinking around. Really, that isn't the most important symbol, but that is what the salamander represents, as the fireman. Well, the next 2 symbols are probably the most important in I think the whole book. Speed is so important in this society. The cars travel so fast that they miss everything around them. The billboards are 200 feet long. And not only this, but the people in this society have a need for speed. Mildred talks about getting a 4th wall put in her house, and the 3rd one was just built 2 months ago, meaning that nothing's ever enough for Mildred. And since Mildred represents society, nothing is enough for society, and meaning that technology just has to keep growing and growing, meaning technology, there's never going to be enough of it, which is how our society is now as well. I mean, we have an iPhone every year come out, you know? We have new technology all the time, and lots of time that technology is good, but also lots of times that technology is not so good. Life is a lot more meaningless, and that brings us on to the next one, which is happiness. Happiness is literally referred to as a mask, meaning under that mask, no one's truly happy. I mean, Mildred wasn't the first person to attempt suicide that night. They said that they have 9 to 10 of those rescues a night, which is pretty absurd if you ask me. People really in this society are just going through the motions. They don't really feel anything. And Guy was too. He believed that he was happy until someone questioned that happiness, which entailed him to question himself. So that is all that I have for the first 20 pages of Fahrenheit 451. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. We'll be getting to the next 40 pages next week. I mean the next 20 pages, so up to page 40. Give it a thumbs up if it helped you out. If you have any questions about the book or anything, or the things they carried, because that's going to be the next one that I do. If you have any questions about Fahrenheit or the things they carried, comment those below. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that this helped you a little bit. Yeah, bye.